Today I'm going to be giving you guys a full, complete guide all about MEPS, how to pass it, what to expect, everything in between. If you are someone that is heading to MEPS in the near future or thinking about joining any branch of the military, then this video is definitely for you. My name is Sean Millette. I am an Army Sergeant, and I actually went to MEPS and passed my first time just about 6 years ago. So when you get to MEPS kind of depends on what you did with your ASVAB. However, it's always going to be the day prior is when you first arrive to MEPS. Now, some people arrive to MEPS much earlier than others because they have to go take their entire ASVAB test, which probably takes about maybe 2 to 3 hours on average. However, some other people do something called the PICAT, where they basically take the ASVAB at home or at their recruiter's office, and then they go the day before, they actually go through MEPS, and they just do like a confirmation so that way they can verify that they weren't cheating on the ASVAB. After you finish your ASVAB, you're kind of just sitting around, waiting around for most of the day for every single person that has to take their ASVAB that day or needs to come in to take it, finishes that. Now this happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to just about everyone else. Somehow this ends up being an entire day's process. I don't know how this always happens, but for me, I got there super early in the morning, and then it felt like I was waiting around all day for these other people to finish taking their test. And the reason that this is because only once everybody is fully finished taking their test or their confirmation test, then you all take some sort of transportation over to a hotel to spend that night. Once you, along with all the others, arrive at the hotel, you'll probably be given kind of like a set of rules or guidelines to follow up until you leave the next morning, and you need to be following those guidelines and rules. Some guidelines and rules that I can think of from my own experience and just off the top of my head is don't be leaving the hotel premises or the property. It's not a good look, and I don't think you're supposed to do it. Also, I don't think you're supposed to have any visitors at all throughout your stay there. That's probably just best practice to keep you out of any trouble. While you're at the hotel, some things you can do is play video games. I remember there was like a big game room with video games in there that you could play with all the other people that were going to MEPS the following day. I believe there was movies. It was like a whole thing. You could rent all this stuff out. There were snacks provided, different things like that. There was a swimming pool, and I can't remember if they told us we could use it or not. And also there was a workout facility, a little gym to use. And that's actually something I did utilize. I worked out a little bit the night prior to going to MEPS. Now, everybody else, you know, recruiters are going to tell you one thing. Other military YouTubers are going to tell you a different thing. A lot of people have these do's and don'ts while you're staying at this hotel. Things you shouldn't be doing because it could hurt your chances of making it into the military, which is ultimately why you're there in the first place. I believe that some of the biggest ones is to kind of lean off of caffeine while you're there, because you're going to be getting your blood pressure taken, and it's not a good thing if that looks like your blood pressure is spiking. You're already going to be probably a little bit nervous while that's going on because it's just an unfamiliar environment. So probably don't drink coffee the morning of. Don't have any energy drinks if you're one of those people. Suck it up. Wait till after you actually join the military or after that day's done. So you'll have a hotel room that you're staying in that night. You'll have one roommate more often than not, and it'll be someone else that is going to MEPS the following day and will be part of that. They might be joining a different branch of the military, but they will be the same gender, and you will have separate beds, so don't worry about any of that. My honest advice would be not to even utilize that workout facility, because you really don't want to risk injuring yourself the day prior to joining the military or potentially joining the military. That's just what I would say. My other tip would be to get a lot of rest, because you do get up pretty early in the morning. If I remember, it's like 4 or 5 a.m. and a lot of these people that are trying to join the military are in high school or fresh out of high school. And trust me, most of these kids are used to staying up super late, playing video games or scrolling through social media. So try to get as much sleep as you can. That's probably the best thing you could be doing for yourself. Things you want to be bringing with you for your stay while you're trying to go through MEPS is a small backpack, and in that backpack you want a change of clothes because you are going to be staying overnight and you do want some fresh clothes for the following day. You should also have some deodorant, a toothbrush, and some toothpaste because you don't want to be the one that stinks at MEPS. Now, what kind of clothes should you actually be bringing for the day that you go through MEPS? And honestly, here's a picture of me. I am not the best example, I'll tell you right now. Do not wear anything close to what I wore because those jeans were kind of tight on me. That dress shirt was very tight around my arms. And I learned this probably the hardest way was you get your blood drawn and you have to roll up your sleeves, and with those sleeves being so tight, you gotta roll that thing like all the way up your bicep to be able to do blood. And honestly, the lady probably didn't even have to tie it off because I was already probably losing circulation with how much I had rolled that shirt and how tight it was to my arms. That is exactly why I say to wear some loose and comfy clothing, but you also want this to be like a little professional at the same time. Try to look nice, because if you make it through all of the MEPS prerequisites, you're going to be meeting with members of your designated branch, and they're going to be trying to find you a job. You're going to talk with them a little bit. So it's almost like a job interview, and you don't want to look like you don't care about it. You don't want to give off the impression that you're just another number. You kind of want to set the tone. And as I said, you're going to be waking up super early that morning that you're going to be going through the whole MEPS process. So once you wake up, I think everybody, you get dressed, you go downstairs, you eat breakfast there at the hotel, and then they bus you back over to the MEPS facility. Once you arrive to the MEPS building, this is when it's go time. This is when you do not mess around. You don't try to be the funny person or the class clown. You need to take this serious, because all the medical examiners and the people conducting the series of tests and things throughout the day at this building, they're trying to weed out and eliminate any recruits that don't pass these tests or they don't see fit. Now, only within good reason can these people actually disqualify someone. There has to be a legitimate reason as to why, but they're very good about what they do and they know what to look for. The most important thing to remember is that everyone else in that group that day that is at MEPS with you all has one goal, and that is to join the military. Now, they're all joining different branches of the military, most of which you're probably never going to see any of those people ever again, unless they're joining the same branch, and even then, that's not all that likely that you'll truly see them again. So they're not your friends. Do not try to be that nice guy that does everything for everybody or starts bending rules to try and help this person, or just don't do any favors for anyone. Just solely focus on what you need to get done, how you can get through it, because the longer it takes, the longer you're going to be at MEPS that day. Now let's talk about the things you're actually going to be doing at MEPS that you need to pass in order to join the military. One of them is a audio hearing test with this clicker in your hand, and you press down on this button every time that you think you hear a beep or this little audible sound. You're going to be in this quiet, noise blocking box shaped room thing. You'll have some headphones on, and yes, every time you think that you hear a beep, you are going to press down on that clicker, and that is testing your hearing and how good your hearing ability is. Another thing you're going to be doing is taking a drug test. So hopefully if you took drugs prior to even thinking about joining the military, that those are out of your system. It is not a good thing to fail this drug test at all. And I also believe that there is an observer. Now, I want to put that out there because it's very, awkward having somebody watch you go to the bathroom. But as you join the military and you do military drug tests, that's what happens. That's what has to happen. Another thing you're going to be doing is a series of these down and back movements that they're going to be testing, just to kind of look for different pre-existing injuries, I believe is the main point of it. The most famous one is the duck walk, where you kind of walk like a duck. You kind of squat down to the ground and you put what is that? I think it's your hands on your hips and you go heel to toe, walk super slow. Basically, just watch how they teach you to do it. They will teach you exactly the form you need, what you need to do, and do not tip over, fall over, show any signs of weakness or that you can't perform that movement. That is the biggest thing. You will also be getting your blood drawn during this time, and I believe that it primarily tests for AIDS. I know that much, and possibly HIV, and I'm not sure what else, but I do know the main one is it's testing for AIDS. I'm sure there's some other things that they're testing for in that as well. And one last thing I almost forgot about is they do have you in kind of a classroom style setting room where you take a written test, and it's going to ask you probably a list of close to maybe 50 questions. And based on how you answer some of those questions, they could disqualify you from joining that day. However, it's important to actually tell the truth and be honest about it because, you know, usually if you end up lying in some capacity, there's a good chance that they will find out. The military is going to find out. So as long as you've passed everything up to this point, you will then go to a different part. For me, it was on the same level, the same floor, different part, other side of the building. And each branch has their own kind of office and cubicles where it is their job to essentially find you a job in their branch and get you something that you somewhat want. This is why it's really good to have a list of about 3 to 5 jobs that you wouldn't mind doing. I would definitely recommend, if you know people that are in that branch of the military, you know, ask them what job they do, see if they actually enjoy it. You can always switch jobs later on down your career, but you know, that's gonna take a few years and you gotta go through all your training. So try to pick something, give it an educated guess. Maybe you know someone that was, you know, prior service, and ask them what jobs they did and if they liked it or not. When you're sitting down with this representative, they also go over the terms of your contract, what it all entails. Make sure you read it pretty carefully, but they're all pretty generic. The biggest things obviously to know is if you're getting some sort of bonus and what that requires of you throughout that time, so that way you don't lose that bonus. Also, the length of time, make sure that the length of time of your contract is accurate, because that would really suck if you thought you signed a 3-year contract and you're actually doing a 6-year contract. That would not be fun. You should be able to ask these representatives some questions that you may have pertaining to jobs and a little bit about your specific branch of the military. However, don't bombard them with questions, because they are there for one thing, and that is to go through their systems, get you a job that you would like, and then move on and work with the next recruit. Now for me, I believe there was a little bit of time in between me first walking in that office, and then I went back out, and then they called me back in, and then you sign your contract. That's when you know, at least for the Army, what job you're gonna be doing. I believe that's the same for every branch. And that's why it's really important to do well on your ASVAB, because the better you do, the more jobs that open up to you. If you're hitting these low numbers, you're not gonna have very many, and you're probably not gonna get a very intriguing job. And honestly, I believe that's truly just about everything. After that, at the top of every single hour, they do a swear-in ceremony, so you might have to wait around for a full hour or even possibly close to 2. I'm not sure. I can't remember if they actually wait around to get a decent sized group. But then you will be swearing in at some point throughout the day. They'll take the, the oath of enlistment or something like that, and you'll get sworn in, and after that, you are in the military. And that was a full, complete guide of, you know, the start to the finish, roughly about a day and a half to 2 days of what the full MEPS process looks like. Hopefully you were able to learn a few things from this video and take away some good knowledge. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for sticking around throughout the video. My name is Sean Millett. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, click right about here. And if you'd like to watch one video of mine, you can click right about here. If you'd like to watch a different video of mine, you can click maybe like right here.